covering the Utes better than anyone else. This is Ute Insider Steve Bartle of KSLSports.com on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Steve, hello.
Hello. How are we, fellas?
We're doing great. Steve, Jake introduced you by saying we expect a decision today. Is that accurate? Do we expect a decision on Kyle Whittingham's future today?
It's in his contract. He has to let Utah know what he's going to decide. Does that mean we're going to find out? I don't know. I'm not so sure. But, we're all kind of digging and asking around, talking to as many people as we can to try and stay on top of things, and we'll see. We'll see. I haven't heard one way or another whether we'll see something today officially, publicly, that sort of thing. We just know that Whit has to let Utah know what he's going to do today.
If Whit says, I'm not sure, I need another weekend, are they going to fire him?
Dude, no. They wouldn't do that to him. No way.
So it may not be a hard deadline.
I mean, you never know, right? Like, I don't know. It's for Kyle. It's got to be tough for him because we know how competitive Kyle is, right? It's who he is. It's what's defined him. He's all about competition, and he's talked a lot about not wanting to be a lifer as a coach, but it's all he's known in his life, and it's got to be tough coming to terms potentially of, saying goodbye to that life and, the grind. As much stress as he probably feels, like it's also just a big part of his life and something that, these coaches just, you get into such a rhythm and it becomes your lifestyle. It can be hard to say goodbye to that. And I think that's sort of where we're at right now with Kyle and this decision is the actuality and reality of potentially hanging it up and calling it a career. And, so we'll see. I think Kyle obviously has done a lot. He's been at the helm of this program for 2 decades. And in those 2 decades, the University of Utah has evolved in so many different ways. And a lot of it does stem from the success of the football program. And so, Kyle has meant a lot to the university, and his impact, is just incredible. So, it's tough. We're all kind of waiting today to see if, news starts to trickle out. But Kyle, for all that he's done for the university, is he should be afforded the time to truly come to grips with whatever his decision is moving forward.
Morgan's obviously been very patient. If Coach Whit were to come back, would you expect that patience to continue?
Oh man, what a great question. I think it would. I think Scally has been, understanding, loyal, and obviously he's ready to take that next step as a coach. And, he's been doing a lot of things behind the scenes in sort of acting as head coach, doing a lot of things, leading team meetings, that sort of stuff. And I just think he's ready to take the reins and start to make his imprint on the football program. I think he's got some things that he probably wants to do and some changes he would like to make and all these sort of things, but he's always been, loyal to it and understanding of where he's at in his career. And I think Morgan is, I think the patience would continue, but certainly it's a valid question of wondering, how much more patience does he have? He's been the head coach and waiting for a handful of years now, and he is certainly ready to take that next step as a coach.
How did Utah's recruiting class finish out, or where is it, I guess, at this point, despite all the, I guess, uncertainty about the coaching future?
Yeah, with that, there's been questions about, well, Kyle needs to make a decision because it's going to impact recruiting. And I think people need to understand is Utah, when they recruit these kids, they let them know they're honest, they're upfront. They provide a very clear picture of where the program is at with Kyle and with Morgan being the head coach in waiting. And it's really allowed them to, maintain their solid recruiting presence, right? Over the last couple of years, especially last year, they were able to hang on and hold on to a lot of their guys despite a 5-7 record. And this year, with the success that they had, it really parlayed into, a nice little finish here at the end, flipping Celeste Moa, the number one player in the state of Utah. Not that Kelvin Obot was ever a threat to leave, but he is, a very hot commodity as an offensive tackle, one of the top. He's number 6 in the country according to 24/7 Sports. He's a 5-star according to On3 and Rivals, and a composite, industry-wide 5-star, the first that Utah has ever signed in program history. And so, Utah finished strong, holding on to the bulk of their class, flipping a couple guys in Celeste Moa and Fasiali from Michigan State. They currently sit on a top 30 class. And I think what's going to be really interesting is this isn't the biggest class for Utah. I think they're going to end up signing 17 players, and that's going to lead to more activity in the transfer portal. This Utah roster, as it currently is constructed going into 2026, it's a pretty young roster. And I think Utah, with some of the attrition that they're going to experience with graduation and players moving on to the NFL, there's going to be a need to add more college experience through the portal than, bringing in more young players. So that's going to be the focus for Utah moving forward, is the portal and adding experience to this roster. But this was a really solid finish for Utah, flipping, Celeste Moa and adding him to the class. He obviously is a tremendous talent, an electric talent, capable of playing two ways. And, for him, the opportunity to come home and play in front of family and friends is a big deal. So I think that's a big thing for Utah, was being able to flip Mo and add him to this class, which was already pretty strong. But to add him as sort of the headliner, here locally, I think is a big deal.
Steve, I've seen Utah defenses get run over before. It has happened. I mean, you can think of Kadeem Carey. Back in the day, there was a game against Cal where they gave up a ton of rushing yards. I want to say like 2011. I mean, there have been examples of Utah's defense getting run over in the past, but I don't think I've ever seen it happen 2 games in a row. And so I'm curious, what do you think is going on with the run defense? Is that something that is that a sign of something that is wrong?
I think this year Utah was just a little too lean, and not necessarily. And I'm not talking like physically lean, but just in general. You had one senior in Aliki Bamahi. You had another player in Jonale Aya, who he is actually in reality pretty lean as a defensive tackle. I think he played at about 280 pounds this season, which is that's tough, especially when you're 6'4" and you just have that lean sort of frame. He made plays throughout the year, but he's not the typical tackle that we've seen. And I think the big issue for Utah and why they struggled so much was just the health of Dallas Vakalahi. So, he was in and out of the lineup all season long. And then after those 3, Utah had 5 true freshmen in that defensive tackle room. So when I say the tackle position was lean, those are all the factors that contributed to why Utah struggled in those final 2 games. Once Kansas State and Kansas sort of committed to running it right at Utah, it really highlighted a weakness this season. I do think, I know there's a lot of confidence and optimism around those 5 freshmen and what they're going to do going into year 2 with the program. This year was more or less a red shirt. We saw a couple of guys play here and there in Carson Kafusi and Pupu Sepulona, but in no way were these guys truly ready to contribute, high volume snap counts this season. So just a number of contributing factors kind of contributed, led to the breakdowns late in the season that we saw. But there is, confidence that this group is going to be much improved going into next year with all of these young players. And they've got some big bodies within that group of freshmen that they feel are going to make big big steps of progress this offseason and be bigger contributors next year.
How much do you think the Vegas Bowl means to Utah this year?
Well, I mean, that sort of depends on maybe what Kyle Whittingham decides, and maybe that adds a little extra fuel to the motivation. But I think there will be pride in the opportunity to play in the Vegas Bowl, regardless of the situation with Kyle. Obviously we know bowl games just aren't what they were, right? We'll probably see a number of guys, opt to not play in the bowl game. And for Utah, that's an opportunity to get some other guys some snaps and get a look at other players. So it's going to be kind of a unique situation, but I think there would be, excitement over the game. It's a short trip down to Vegas, and it's a great opportunity to play a Big Ten program, and we'll see. But yeah, I think that's most likely where Utah's headed is to the Vegas Bowl, and I would anticipate, from what I've heard, I think the matchup is going to be Utah-Nebraska, but we'll wait to see on Sunday what that actually is.
How many Big 12 teams should get into the college football playoff?
Man, I think both Texas Tech and BYU should be in it. But we've seen with this college football playoff committee that, they've got an angle in for what they're trying to get in there. And, I think you look at BYU's resume with the 2 wins, or I shouldn't say 2 wins, but the win over Utah and what that meant and for them. And you look at the rest of their body of work, they've done a lot to warrant greater consideration compared to some of the other resumes, that belong in the top 11 and top 10. Texas Tech, obviously, being where they are and what they accomplished this season. I absolutely think the Big 12 should be a 2-bid league this season, regardless of what happens in the championship game this year. With the way that the top 3 programs played this year, with Texas Tech, BYU, and Utah, Utah doing a lot to, get the big dominant wins, I think really helped or should have helped both Texas Tech and BYU in sort of strengthening their resumes. It's obviously a quality win for both, but yeah, I think the Big 12 should have both Texas Tech and BYU as of right now. Now, obviously, they always talk about how championship games shouldn't impact things, but we'll see what plays out beyond, a BYU just winning out and securing their bid that way. We'll see how competitive that game is and what the other games look like to potentially, impact things within the top 10.
Yeah, Steve, do you have a feel for tomorrow's game?
I really don't. I have no feel other than, what I know. And, from the regular season, Texas Tech, they are just at a completely different level in terms of talent and leadership. They just have so much talent across the board, especially defensively. And, with that game being in Arlington, obviously we know the BYU fan base will be there, but that Texas Tech presence will be pretty strong. So it's going to be really interesting. I think it's going to be a competitive matchup, but just watching Tech play this season, they were just, they were on a different level than everybody else this year. And it's just hard to see them not winning this game tomorrow, being in Texas. And, they're just at a different level this year than everybody else, in my opinion.
Your phone hasn't buzzed during this interview, right? We don't know if Coach Witt is going or staying.
Yeah,
we're still in limbo. Okay.
I've gotten some texts, but nothing crazy yet. But man, it has been a wild week. I've been on the phone, man, multiple hours a day. I've probably made 40, 50 calls this week alone. It's been quite a crazy week of investigating.
Well, we'll be glued to your work, Steve. You let us know when you know, will you?
Yeah, you guys got it. Appreciate you, fellas.
Thanks, Steve. Appreciate you. There he is, the one and only Steve Bartle, waiting on that Bartle bomb. What is Coach Witt going to do?